Hello everyone, my name is Alex Rabinok. I'm head of partner marketing in Bittrex24. We usually talk about Bittrex24 being versatile and fitting for companies of all shapes and forms, all sizes and all industries, especially if we consider the amount of instruments the product has and the pricing model that helps companies start fast and save money in long term. And now we want to dive deep into the realities of specific industries and see how Bittrex24 can be implemented there. And today we're going to talk about Bittrex24 in accounting. And for that reason, we are joined by Sam Khanna from our longtime partner Intreface to showcase their solution for accounting. Sam, how are you doing today?
Hi Alex, thank you for the introduction there. So welcome everyone, I'm Sam Khanna, Sales Manager here at Intreface. We're Bittrex24 Gold Partners and it's great to be joining today's webinar where we'll be looking at our accountancy solution. So just to give a bit of a background why we built this solution. So we were speaking to a lot of accountancy firms that had information spread across lots of different systems. It was inefficient, there was lots of repeated tasks, and essentially people were wasting a lot of time on their work. So our Bittrex24 accountancy solution, it streamlines accountancy practices, processes with tools for sales and proposals, automated KYC and onboarding, efficient workflows and task management. We have a client portal, and also really importantly, and probably the most important element, it's robust management reporting. So it empowers accountants to deliver faster, more compliant and insightful services as well to their customers.
Okay, so let's see the solution itself. So back to you, Sam.
Okay, so thanks very much. Let's go and head over to our accountancy solution then. So as we've discussed earlier on in the webinar, our accountancy solution, it is really the ultimate all-in-one platform tailored for accountancy practices. So we're combining CRM, task management, reporting, and client communications for enabling you to manage all of that client interaction, relationships, operations in one secure and intuitive workspace. So what we'll do first of all is we'll take a look at the sales elements of our accountancy solution. So how we can capture leads and manage that pipeline management process within our accountancy solution that is powered by Bittrex24. So first of all, here we have our contact center. So the contact center, it's a fantastic tool to enable us to capture leads from different sources. And when we've been speaking to accountancy firms, a key way they're generating new leads into the organization, it is through social media. Okay, so with Facebook and Instagram. So we have these channels connected in our solution. So if someone's on Facebook, you can integrate Facebook lead ads. It's going to automatically generate the lead into the system for you. We can have our website form designer tool, so that can be embedded into your website. So if someone's on the website interested in inquiring, they can fill in the form and it's going to automate the creation of the lead into Bittrex24. And we can also enable communication channels such as WhatsApp, integrate your emails into the system, and even integrate telephony with certain providers. So we can then have all of the different communication dialogues that take place with prospects and with our customers saved inside the CRM system. And that then leads us on to our lead database within the Bittrex24 accountancy solution. So here we have our streamlined workflow. And what's really beneficial with the workflows in our solution is you can customize this to your specific accountancy practice workflow. So here, as soon as the lead's coming into the system, it's coming into the new lead stage, and we then progress that into our discovery call. So let's go into a lead. We can see we can track here all of the information about the new inquiry that's been fed in here. We can see email communications that have taken place with the lead here. And then as the accountancy representative, I'm then progressing this to the discovery call. And we can see here, it's automatically generated the task within the solution here, assigning it to the correct person. And we can see the different actions that need to be completed on this discovery call task. So another key element here, it's creating the correct piece of work at the correct stage of the sales process, and it's giving accountability. It's been assigned to a specific representative here, James Smith, who needs to complete that work, and we have the deadline. So as the manager of the team here managing these leads, we can track to make sure that these tasks aren't being passed past the deadline. So we can capture that information, call through the system, and then complete all of the key tasks. So within here, we can then add our notes about the lead. So all of the key information is captured inside the system. We can also tag colleagues into here as well if we need to. So we can store all of that key data, attach documents into here. So everything's centralized. All of that key information is managed through the system. And then we can complete the lead and then put this into the relevant pipeline for closing the sales opportunity. So we can run pipeline management. So here we have our corporate, SME, and private and individual. So depending on the opportunity type, we can then categorize it into the relevant deal pipeline. And so once we've captured all of this information inside the system here, we can control what details are progressed through to that deal. So we can now see that's now progressed the opportunity here into the corporate deal pipeline. And we're now going to be scheduling the next stage of the pipeline process. So if we go into our deals pipeline, this view here is a fantastic overview. So here within our corporate pipeline, we have full visibility over the entire pipeline process. So we can see all of the progression of these opportunities that we're working on to close. In this overview, it allows you to see for forecasting how much value we have at each stage of the sales process. And we speak to a lot of accountancy firms who simply don't have this view of their sales management. They don't have visibility as to what stage every opportunity is at. So this is a fantastic view to instantly analyze all of your opportunities within the system here. And as we then start to progress the opportunities through to closing, we can capture all of the key information on the opportunity. And we have a document generator tool within our accountancy solution. So we can generate documents inside the system here. And we can then send those out for signing using our e-signature module that is built into Bitrix 24. So we can now see this document has been sent out to the customer for signing through the system. And if we come into the background here on our deal corporate pipeline stages, we can see this is the automation engine that we have inside the system. So at each stage of the sales process, we can create automated actions, whether that's communicating to the client, it could be creating tasks or alerts for our internal team. So all of the manual activities that accountancy firms do right now, we can automate that using our accountancy solution. So key value benefits here is we're freeing up time for our staff who are managing these opportunities, so they can then work on closing more opportunities with that free time. We're reducing human error by automating email communications, ensuring the correct information is sent at the correct stage. And we ensure nothing falls through the cracks by having notifications set up in the system. So you're constantly being proactively engaged throughout the process here. And one of the key elements to mention here is we have a triggers set up. So a trigger is going to automatically update the stage of the opportunity. So we've just seen here the document being sent out for signing, so the proposal being sent out. Once that has been signed by the customer, we're automatically updating the stage of the deal to 1 inside the system here. And that then leads us on. Once the deal has been completed, we have our automation set up to automate the creation of the KYC, so know your customer and onboarding process. So once that has been signed, we then automatically have the tasks created for the onboarding of the customer. So we can see here the KYC area. So all of the entities that are now being onboarded, we have a Kanban view here to manage the progression of those onboardings. So we can click into the onboarding page. Okay, so as we come over to the KYC module here, so know your customer, this is where we're managing the onboarding of the customer and essentially creating a seamless journey for the client. So here we have the Kanban view. We can see easily what stage each client is at in the onboarding process. And again, using the automation engine within our accountancy solution, we're automating the creation of tasks across the team, so nothing's falling through the cracks. So whether it's managing initial onboarding tasks or regulatory tasks that have to be completed for compliance purposes, we can automate the creation of those inside the system here. So for example, we have our account money laundering tasks that need to be completed, and we have the checklist here of items that need to be captured. So if we go into the latest onboardings, we can see here the customer's details, and that AML task here has been created inside the system, and we can see all of the key elements that need to be completed for this customer. So as we start to capture this information, we can tick those pieces of work off. And we also have our time tracker tool, so we can start to record our time on each element of work that we are completing here. Okay, so let's just capture that information. So each element of the process, it can be captured through the system. And using our customization here, we can tag whether this time is going to be billable or non-billable time, which we'll take a look at shortly as we're generating invoices in the system. And then we can, once that task has been completed, we capture the documentation here inside the client's onboarding page. So you have centralized areas for every key element of the onboarding process. And we can also set up task dependencies. So it ensures workflows are completed in the correct order. So steps like the KYC approval, that could then trigger the next elements of the onboarding process. And once the onboarding is completed, we then have our company database where we can see a record of all of our customers that we have onboarded. We can see all of the details here about the customers inside the system. And we can, of course, put permissions in place to control who can access different entities within the system. So here in North Logistics, we can see all of the contacts that are associated to the company. So you have the parent-child relationship for the organization. And we can see within here all of the elements associated to the business, from all of the tasks and the opportunities that they are connected to. And then from here, once we're then starting to work on the day-to-day management of this company's work, we can then open up their task management page where we can view all of the ongoing work that is being completed for the customer. So the view here, the task deadline view, this allows us to easily analyze what work needs to be completed in the next period of time. So here we can see what's due today, what's going to be due in the next week. So for allocating resources, using the deadline view is a fantastic way to be able to prioritize what needs to be completed next within the system. So what we can do is when we go into any of the tasks that we are currently working on, we have the task page where we're seeing all of the information about the tasks. And as we've discussed, we have an area here where we can record time on those tasks. So here in this June payroll task, we can see work that has been itemized already. So we can see what's billable and what is not going to be billable work inside the system here. And we can see the time that has been logged on that task. So let's now go, and from here, we now want to, let's add one more piece of time onto this task that was completed on Monday. We can then log the amount of time on here, and then we can put a comment on here. And we can then select if it's billable or non-billable. This is going to be billable time. So let's save that inside the system here. Okay, so when we're now ready to build this task, we can then go into the billing page. It's going to automatically feed in here the details of the contact, the company associated to the task. And we can then select the billing period that we're wanting to generate an invoice from. So within this billing period, I want to select all of the time within June. We can then save that information. We can now see that's automatically, based on that billing period and what has been marked as billable, it's automatically summarized the total time on the billable tasks and generated an invoice inside the invoice module. So we can go into the invoice record. It's now going to roll up all of that time spent on the tasks using the hourly rates of the responsible person on that task. And we can then automate the sending of that invoice out to the customer for payment. And all of the invoices that we have generated in here, we can see this within the invoice module. So for managing our invoices and payments, we can automatically see what stage the invoices are at. And we have integrations with accountancy packages such as QuickBooks and Xero when those payments are processed. So that can update the stages here of our invoices. So we have the seamless time and billing management integrated into the accountancy solution. And then finally, and really importantly, with all of the data that we have within the system, we then have our management report. So we can then build out dashboard reports that analyzes all of that invoice data and all the metrics associated to the accountancy practice. So very key information such as ARR, conversion rates, the average deal size for our customer base. We then build into here all of that key metrics. So it ensures you gain real-time visibility into that client activity, team performance, and financial metrics within the accountancy practice. And the information that we have within the system, we also can share specific elements with our clients within the application as well. So what we can do is we can go over to our client portal. So here, this is the customer facing portal where we're able to share specific details with the client. So it really creates a seamless process when we're onboarding customers and also then managing the day-to-day work with the client. So here they're able to share documents with the internal team, or we can share information with them. They're able to see all of the tasks and also communications with their agent associated on the Bitrix 24 platform. So we're able to communicate through the instant chat system here. So it allows for seamless connectivity with our clients through the system. We can share key information, and it ensures you have a professional customer-facing portal that your clients have access to. So that is an overview of the accountancy solution powered by Bitrix 24. Let's go back now to have a look at some questions that have come through during the webinar today.
Okay, thank you for that demo. And now let's start with the Q&A session regarding the solution. Based on your experience, what are the most common operational pain points that Bitrix 24 can solve? And what are the first measurable results that the client can see?
Yeah, it's a really good question. From our conversations with accountancy firms, what I would say is the major pain point. It's manual errors and having to rework effort and work that's already been completed. So lots of firms, even now, they're using Excel, email, and disconnected systems. And the problem with that is it introduces errors. It means work is repeated because it's spread across different systems. You don't have full transparency over what is within the accountancy practice. And that then also leads to staff consuming more time on repeating work. And it also means a poor customer experience. And that's a key point you need to look at across this. It's what is the experience for the end client here? If they're having to wait for information, if they're being asked repetitive questions from across different people in the firm, it reduces that customer experience, okay? Now, with our accountancy solution powered by Bitrix 24, we're centralizing all of that information into our system. It means there's no duplication of work. So again, that's a key element. It's transparency over that information. We're also able to automate a lot of work, so reoccurring tasks. So a lot of accountancy firms we work with, they have tasks that they have to repeat every single month, whether that's payroll or tax accounting. Those tasks are automatically recreated using our automation engine in our accountancy solution. And we also have pre-filled templates, which there reduces human error. And we can have integrations with accountancy systems to share information across different systems that are used within the accountancy firm. And from accountancy firms using our solution, we've seen between a 30 to 50% reduction in errors and reworking of work within the systems.
Okay, let's talk about internal document management. How does Bitrix 24 help with internal document exchange? Because, working in accounting, you get a lot of documents, you send a lot of documents. How can Bitrix 24 help there?
So our accountancy solution, it's really optimized for managing different types of documents that accountancy practices have to handle. As you say, it could be contracts, invoices, expense reports. So what we do is Bitrix replaces manual email-based routing with fully automated workflows for invoices, purchase orders, and expenses. And that approval process, it can follow logic-based rules. So with notifications, digital sign-offs, and really importantly, we have full traceability. So cutting out delays and increasing accountability. So we know where that document is in an approval process, what stage it's at, and with who it is awaiting completion with. And we also have centralized storage with version control. So all documents are stored in a single secure location with strict access controls and automatic version tracking. And in our conversations with accountancy firms, that has been absolutely critical because there's very sensitive documentation that they have access to. So we commonly see that within accountancy firms, they have to limit internally who can access those documents. So having those access level controls within the Drive module has been a real fundamental tool that a lot of firms are using. And of course, this kind of relates back to what we previously discussed. There's no more duplicated files or confusion over the latest version. Every edit of a document, it's logged and it's recoverable in the solution. And lastly, we have smart search and visibility. So you can create advanced filters and tagging. So it's easy for users within the solution to find documents instantly, whether that's by type, status, or at the user level.
Okay, let's talk about cross-department collaboration. How does implementing Bitrix 24 change the process of getting requests from accounting and sending requests from accounting to other teams of your company? And does it significantly change the process and helps with the hassle with the communication?
So automation is a key element of our accountancy solution. The automation engine we have within Bitrix 24 allows teams to automate a huge variety of internal tasks, but also communications with the end clients. So key areas of automation within the accountancy solution are, first of all, client onboarding and compliance checks, which are absolutely critical to the successful completion of the KYC process. So previously, when we speak with accountancy firms, there's lots of manual collection of information, whether that's could be payment terms, tax IDs, or contracts. With our solution, we automate that onboarding workflow request. So when we're requesting information, it is done through structured forms. We're automatically creating the tasks for finance or admin teams to complete the verification process. And the onboarding is trackable using stages in our KYC process. So everyone within the business has visibility as to what stage their clients are at during the onboarding process. So having that visibility, being able to automate those different processes, it saves hours of time for every client that is being onboarded. It ensures consistency across every single onboarding of a client. It ensures compliance is completed, which is critical. And also, it kind of references back to what we discussed earlier on in today's webinar. It delivers a professional onboarding experience for the customer. And I think that's something we always have to relate back to and anchor to. It's how is this going to impact the customer and therefore the accountancy business in terms of performance and growth. Having these automated processes, it improves the customer experience and hopefully then will ensure the customer continues to use the accountancy firm moving forward. So that's one example. We also have other examples of automation in terms of it can be, for example, payment reminders and due date tracking. So many firms previously had manual processes for chasing payments or getting due dates of information. But using scheduled workflows within our Bitrix 24 accountancy solution means we can automatically send payment reminders to clients. So we're not having to manually chase for those payments. Overdue triggers on those payment dates can escalate to, could be account managers or to the directors of the business. And what we're seeing is this is ensuring then fewer late payments, and it's significantly reducing the time spent chasing clients. In one firm, this was by over 60%, the reduction in that time spent. So then it allowed the accountancy staff to focus on other areas of the business, bringing more clients on board and providing the service to their customers. And then one other way we're able to use our automated actions, it's in terms of approvals that take place within the accountancy practice. So before, we've seen accountancy firms, they have approval processes that are incredibly manual. So they get stuck. It could be in email inboxes or just forgetting in meetings and chats. So with Bitrix 24, we're able to automate the approval process with clear routing of those approvals and set deadlines as well. So it ensures every approval is managed in a timely manner and process. So that means the end user has real-time status updates and it eliminates that manual follow-up process. So we've seen with some accountancy firms, approval turnaround time can be cut by up to 50% by using our accountancy solution. And then the overall impact there, it means lower workload. So routine tasks, they're dramatically reduced in terms of the time that they take. And it means teams can shift their focus by automating lots of the work we've just described here. They can then focus on more strategic financial and business management aspects to help grow the accountancy business.
Accounting usually works with a lot of sensitive data. How do you effectively configure access rights and access permissions in Bittrex 24? And what are the key security best practices for having better benefits from using Bittrex 24 in your company?
Yes, so this is a really good question, and it's something we heavily focus on when we onboard accountancy firms with our solution, because as we discussed, there can be a lot of sensitive data within the system. So, I mean, first of all, with our solution, it allows you to configure the access rights on every single document that is added into the system. And what we can do is we can set up role-based access control. So we can set permissions based on user roles. So that can be say an accountancy role, it could be a manager's role and a director's role, let's say. We can then set the access level controls on each role. And then in terms of visibility, we could set that visibility so it can be, say, department-based visibility, so limiting access based on each department or team, so they can only access certain areas of the system. And just kind of referencing back to that document permission, we can set document level permissions, so we can control who can view, edit, share, or delete specific files or folders. So for example, we may have a PO, for example, which is an approval task that may be visible to the requester and to the approver. And then once that goes through that workflow, it may then be that purchase order document may be shared across additional staff within the organization. Another element to the question, I guess, Alex, that you asked is really about best practice as well. So to ensure robust protection within the system, we recommend quite a few elements that need to be set up correctly. So first of all, it's two-factor authentication. So requiring that two-factor login for all users, especially those within certain areas, maybe of the finance side of the business. Having that set up is a critical process. We also recommend limited administration rights. So really only essential IT security personnel should have access rights for an administrator's role. So avoid giving full access to general users and other staff members. And the final element to mention in terms of best practice here, we've discussed about the client portal. So it's important to check the permission controls that we're giving to our external clients within that collaboration portal. And it's very easy to configure those permission controls. So that's something that you really want to check before you start to invite clients into the collab space. And one last thing to mention when we're talking about security here, really, I just want to reference as well the enhanced security that we have with the Bittrex 24 on-premise system. So for organizations with heightened security, or maybe for regulatory requirements, obviously with the on-premise system, it enables you to have full control over data storage and security as well.
Okay, let's talk about implementation challenges. What are the biggest hurdles that you usually see while implementing Bittrex 24? How do you work with the resistance? And what phase of implementation is the hardest in your opinion?
Yes, so some of the biggest hurdles we see, and it can be quite common, essentially the biggest challenge, let's say, is getting used to new tools instead of old habits like using spreadsheets and emails, because firms can be very accustomed to using those processes. Also, setting up workflows to actually match the processes of the accountancy firm. Hopefully people can see within the demonstration that we've gone through today how flexible and customizable the accountancy solution can be, where we're setting up workflows within the CRM, within the customer onboarding journey. Now, it's really important to make sure the firm that's implementing Bittrex, they define what that workflow needs to look like for their firm, because it's really then when you get buy-in. Once we're able to implement that workflow into the system, when staff start to use the system, they are very familiar with that process. And that's when you'll get buy-in and staff will really start to use the system, and then you'll get value and a return on your investment. So it's a part we really drill down into, is defining those workflows. It can't be rushed. It needs to be managed in a very detailed process. If you get that bit wrong, it can mean having to deconstruct the process in the future. So that's absolutely fundamental. And it can be a challenge because some businesses, they're not sure exactly how to document that process. But that's where our customer success team help businesses to define the process and workflows. And we can proactively use our experience of Bittrex 24 to help to support in embedding that workflow into the system. And then one other challenge I would suggest, based on experience, it's simply connecting Bittrex with existing softwares that allow the process to be integrated. It's something that a lot of businesses like to complete, is having that integration. So we build those integrations, ensure the Bittrex 24 system is connected either one way or two way with other systems within the business's technology stack. So it's just about making sure that integration is set up correctly for how the organization needs it to work. And the way we overcome these challenges, it's involving the correct teams as early as possible during the implementation. It's about having those scoping sessions and listening to their needs. And really what we always emphasize is starting small, whether it's maybe with pilot teams or certain key departments, and then having a phased implementation. So rolling out the key requirements, the key workflows, first of all, and then adding more as we go on. So we say an implementation, it's a constantly evolving process. And so that allows for the key elements to be instructed into the system, first of all. And then the last way we overcome any of these kind of challenges is by having robust training. So administrator, end user training, and then ongoing support as teams start to use the system, because once training's done, it will always lead to more questions than answers. So having ongoing support, which we provide to our clients, having a single point of contact, it allows for that ongoing support to ensure teams continuously learn and evolve as they use the Bittrex 24 accountancy solution.
I got a question about measuring success. What metrics do you recommend tracking before implementing Bittrex 24 and after using Bittrex 24, so we can see that we are getting the results that we need?
Yeah, it's a really important question, Alex, actually. So obviously the implementation of the accountancy solution, we've discussed already about the value that it can deliver, but it's absolutely critical to have KPIs to be able to track and measure the value of the implementation. So key areas we focus on in terms of KPIs, it's first of all the amount of hours that we can save staff. And the way we do that is, as we've discussed, by automating lots of manual activity, inviting the client into the portal area to share information that frees up time for staff. So we see lots of different ways we're able to free up time for staff. And that is then measured in the number of hours that are freed up for each member of the team, allowing them to focus on really more higher value activities in helping to grow the organization. So that's the first key KPI, the amount of hours saved for each staff member. Another key KPI is increased transparency and accountability. So being able to monitor improvements in the visibility around, it could be document sharing, approvals, customer onboarding and workflows, it ensures everyone's responsibilities are clear. And having that increased transparency, it references what we discussed earlier on around duplication. It reduces duplication by having everything centralized in one system. And another KPI we always reference is having better reporting to make informed decisions moving forward for the accountancy practice. So as we've discussed and seen in the demonstration with the BI Builder solution, we're able to report on now really every element of the accountancy practice. So having that evaluation, being able to do it in a quick and easily way, that is a key KPI, how quickly we can generate reports and make quick and informed decisions.
Okay, if a company is just starting to use Bittrex 24, what is the one key piece of advice that you can give them before rolling out Bittrex 24 in their company?
That's a really good question. So I would say in terms of key advice, if there's one really key piece of advice I would give someone starting to look at the Bittrex 24 solution, it's understanding your processes and workflows. Make sure you understand that and are able to document those workflows and processes before you start to implement the Bittrex 24 system, because it's really before the implementation that whole mapping needs to take place. So if you have a clear mapping of your workflows and pain points, it ensures then the system is tailored to your needs, and it references what we discussed earlier on. Once the system's customized to your specific needs, that makes the adoption a lot smoother, and it then gets buy-in from the entire organization, which means you'll see results faster by utilizing the system, and you'll see a quicker and a bigger return on your investment of using the accountancy solution powered by Bittrex 24. And in terms of emerging trends within the Bittrex 24 ecosystem, so I know we've discussed this many times in other sessions as well, it's AI and advanced automation. So there's growing use of AI-driven tools within Bittrex 24 for collating information. I know we're bringing out the new features soon for helping to generate workflows and automations, and having also predictive analysis to reduce manual work and errors. So that's a really exciting trend and functionality that's essentially been constantly incorporated into the Bittrex 24 system. So having that deeper integration of AI is going to be something to continue to look at and see how we can then help businesses to use that and add more value to their processes moving forward.
All right, Sam, that's it for today. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your expertise. It was really helpful for us and for our potential clients.
Yeah, it's been my pleasure. Thank you very much for having us today, Alex. And as you say, if I was to summarize our accountancy solution, essentially our accountancy solution, it works for accountancy practices because it takes care of every element of the day-to-day running of the firm. So it takes care of the sales funnel, the client onboarding and KYC, the regulatory compliance and data that needs to be managed, and then the robust reporting. It ensures businesses are able to make quick and informed decisions about their accountancy firm moving forward. And when we incorporate that client portal, it ensures it gives the client a smooth digital first experience. So it's really the engine behind proactive service delivery, and it's a scalable foundation as your practice grows.
That's it for today. Subscribe to our channel and see you in our next videos.